the dilemmas that we have here in the United States is that we're still not on the metric system, and we're not using Celsius, we use Fahrenheit. So one of the things that we have to do is we have to convert this data that's coming out of here from Celsius to Fahrenheit. And so the component for that is located under extras, okay? And you're looking for Ladybug C2F, all right? So it's basically converting Celsius to Fahrenheit. So I'm going to take that component, I'm going to drop it in here, and I'm going to feed the dry bulb temperature into there first, and then feed the dry bulb temperature after it's gone through the converter into the import data, okay? And you can see that it's gotten taller, but it's basically working in Fahrenheit now. So if we zoom in on the scale, right, it's going from 32 degrees to 115 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? All right, so that brings us to another point in this sort of thing, the z-scale. So you can see that the z-scale is pretty tall in this particular case, right? So you can drop in a number slider that maybe runs from 0 to 1, 1 being what you're looking at. And I used a point on there so that it would allow me to go in increments of tenths. All right, and you can see that if you set it to 0, it gives you the flattened version of it, right? Remember when we were looking at it this way? So 0 allows you to look at it as a two-dimensional chart, right? I'm going to go ahead and kind of increase it, and I think I'm going to take it up to about maybe 0.7, okay? All right, so does that make sense? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give you guys an opportunity to kind of find the conversion to Fahrenheit and also drop the z-scale component onto it. All right? Okay, so before we go to anything else dealing with this, while the recording was off, I asked, why does this look like a mountain this way and this way? And I think most of you were able to deduce that from here to here is the daily cycle. Okay, from coldest time of the day, or from maybe sundown to sunset, right? Sunrise, sunset. And that looking at it this way, that it obviously represents the months, right? So the coldest months to the hottest months to the coldest months. If you zoom in on it, you'll see that there are these bands, right? And each band represents a day. So there's 30 of them from here to here, okay? The reason that there's a variation per month is, as you guys can see, imagine this month, right? So we've had some warmer days this month and we've had some colder days this month. And that's a common cycle that occurs, right, throughout the year. And so that's what we're looking at, and that's why there's so much differentiation on a day-to-day basis, okay? Because, maybe this is a cold time period, and then it gets sunny and warm for a few days, and then it gets cold again. Another cold front comes through, and then it gets warm again, and then another cold front comes through, and then it gets warm. It just keeps doing that on a cyclical basis. All right? Okay, so one of the things that we need to be able to do is to control the legends, because right now all of these numbers and letters and stuff are all too small to read. So in order to do that, you need to find a different component, and it's a legend parameters component. It also is located under extras, all right? And it's the second item down here, Ladybug legend parameters. And we're going to go ahead and drop that thing down underneath our current components. Now, we're going to need more room here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both of these and put them up above here. All right, and then I'm going to take these two elements and kind of pull them over this way. So I'm making some adjustments to kind of make it easier to kind of use this stuff. All right. So here's the legend parameters, and if you look for an input, there's a legend parameter output and a legend parameter input. If you go ahead and click it in there, all of these are set to the standard default scale. One of the things that I'll warn you about this is that we don't know what units people are working in. They could have been working in millimeters. They could have been working in meters. Okay. More than likely they were working in millimeters. So the one thing on here that immediately catches my eye is the font size. So if I hover over top of it and I look at it, it's like, oh, font size, all right, an optional number. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to have to experiment with numbers until you figure out what variables will work. So I'm going to drop a number, the number slider in here, and I'm going to take it from 1 to 100. 1 to 100, okay? And I'm going to make it all the way big and see what happens when I feed this to the font size. Oh, hey, it got smaller, didn't it? Okay, so that's not going to work. All right, so it got way smaller. So let's make it bigger. Let's give it a try at, I don't know, 1,000. And then slide that thing over. Oh, hey, look at that. 580, it's starting to become legible. 740, it's not 10,000, 1,000. All right, so mine looks pretty legible at about 740. Okay, these numbers over here seem like they're starting to get very close together. But overall, it becomes a functional sort of diagram, a three-dimensional diagram. Okay? All right, so now that we have the sort of the legend parameters kind of feeding into it, I want to take sort of a break from this, and I want to actually take this thing right here, and I'm going to give you guys an assignment right now. I'm going to ask you guys to take this element and bake it into Grasshopper, into Rhino. And then what I want you to do is I want you to take the outline of this box, okay, and I want you to create a three-dimensional extrusion from the lowest temperature to the maximum temperature. Okay? And I want you to try to size it to where it's measurable. So, like for example, if I look at this chart right here, it looks like it's running from 32 degrees to 115 degrees. What I need to be able to do is I need to be able to estimate and find where 68 to 75 degrees is. Or let's call it 70 to 75 degrees. Okay? So I'm going to stop the video and I'm going to just basically ask you guys to do that. In order to bake the thing into the screen, what you're going to do is just right click here and click bake. And it's going to basically look something like that once it gets baked. Okay? But once it gets baked, you'll find that it is line work that you can kind of work with. So for example, I could draw a box, and if I turn my object snaps on, I can draw a box from down here to here, and then I can extrude it up. The good thing about doing it this way is that you can actually start to see the days more clearly. All right, I may actually switch into a front view and come over here and take it to the maximum value, which is about right there. Okay, and then that will basically put a bounding box around it. Okay. Now, within that bounding box, what I'm asking you guys to do is to try and figure out where 70 to 75 degrees is. It's going to be another box like this one inside of there. Okay?